As much as I enjoyed it, I really thought it was great. I was conflicted because I felt this heavy sense of how short life is. Watching Steve on Apple TV, the documentary about Steve Martin, I really had all of those emotions. They did it in two parts. The first part was then, and the second part was now. Because they jump cut from like where he first made it to who he is now, you really kind of get a heavy dose of time and the passage of time and aging. And I just, as much as I enjoyed it, I really thought it was great. I was conflicted because I felt this heavy sense of how short life is. What is it about the format of taking people through the life of someone that works, but also kind of makes you nostalgic for the time period when they started, and also for, in my case, the sadness of a life that's gone? And I'll admit that I didn't really understand what he was about. You know, I would see his stand-up with the arrow through the head and Wild and Crazy Guys, and I would just think, boy, that's not aging very well. But learning as you go back through it and you watch this, you realize that he studied philosophy, and he's basically a conceptual artist. And he was playing a character of a guy who thinks he's funny, but he's not. And that just changes everything. And the balls it must take to get up in front of people and try to bomb. Can you imagine, how, like if people say this, I don't know if it's true, but that the people, death is number 2 biggest fear, and the number 1 is public speaking. And can you imagine intentionally going in front of a group of people wanting to bomb? That takes nuts. Like, you want to get up there and bomb on purpose. Maybe if that's your intention, if that's your expectation, maybe it's less impactful. I don't know. Do you think it could be like less traumatic if you bomb? Or like, do you start to bomb and you start to think, yes, it's working? I mean, what a weird sort of cognitive dissonance, if that's the right use of the term, to get up there and try to do that. But I have such an appreciation for people who want to shake things up and sort of shake people out of their habit and their routine and say, hey, you're alive. This is live, by the way. You went to the theater. You wanted this to happen. You want them to play Beethoven's Third just the way you've heard it all the 100 times before, and then in the middle of it, somebody gets up and screams murder, and then and blood starts flying, and it's all fiction, but it's chaos, and you think like, well, this has gone wrong. Like, but has it gone wrong? Is the question. And so I think that's the sense that I got from watching the documentary, that he was trying to sort of twist things up and sort of turn things upside down and make us think about things, and why are we laughing, and why are we here, and in this watching this performance, what are we trying to get out of this, and what is comedy, were all these big questions. And I just had so much respect after learning that that's what the core of his creative practice was. But then there's the other part where they switch and they cut quickly to his age now. And I think he's still funny. He's still really funny. I've never been a big fan of his movies. I did like Roxanne, and I do like The Jerk, of course. But I don't know, some of the other ones. Parenthood, I haven't seen in a long time, so I can't speak to that. I just want to mention that I forgot to mention Three Amigos as one of his great films. Classic. Can't get better than that. Anyway, the part that really got to me was that he's like, in his 70s or whatever, and it's just, it goes so quickly. Here was this guy who was this philosophy major, and he's got this great idea, and he's trying to make it work, and he's going into clubs, and he's making things happen, and then all of a sudden he's in his 70s. And the other thing that kind of got to me too was that he has a child, and he didn't show his child at all, and I don't know how old the child is. but his wife was young enough to have a child, so she must be significantly younger than him, which is great, whatever. But I started to get this overwhelming sense of sadness in him, learning that also that he had a lot of sadness, that he was very alone, felt very empty at times, when he was off stage. But that here's this guy who has just a human, forget about the fact that it's Steve Martin, I mean, he has this child now, and he's in his 70s, and if let's say the child's 8, like how much of that child's life are you going to get to see? And that really kind of hit me hard too, in a general sense. There were 3 things I took from the film. 1, I didn't understand what he was about stand-up wise. I thought that was great. 2, I didn't realize that he was kind of that sad and lonely and a bit of a lone wolf. And then 3, this overwhelming sense of time hitting you in the face, saying you're 30 one day trying to make it, and then you're 74 with a 6-year-old kid, and you're not going to get to see much of that child's life, and what a sad thing it is for lives to end at all. But I guess we don't really know that, though, until it happens. I mean, as the saying goes, we came from nothingness, and if we return to it, who's to say we don't pop up somewhere else or here again or anything like that. So one more thing, I also regret not seeing Martin and Short when they came close to me here, and I didn't go see them because I'm guessing they're probably not going to go back on tour. Well, you got to get out and see those performances, because you never know when it's going to be the last one.